Hello everybody, in this video we're taking a slightly different approach to interesting facts about Windows. This is the first time in a couple of years I'm showing you cool things about Windows, so I wanted it to be special. So this is the first time I'm narrating this kind of video, and I've also permanently switched editing software. I'm now using DaVinci Resolve. Pretty unusual experience for me, and I'm still a beginner, so any feedback in the comments down below would be welcome. But anyway, let's begin. Welcome to 11 interesting facts about Windows 11. Starting with number 11, the black screen of death. We're gonna count down just like in the previous episodes. In the past we've seen the green screen of death, the color choice for the insider builds, the rare undocumented red screen of death, which was likely actually blue, hue shifted due to graphical issues. But the black screen of death was something new and unexpected with the Windows 11 leak way back in 2021. If we quickly hop over to the build 22000 and kill a system process, we'll see a black screen of death with a blue QR code. Beautiful. Just like most initial Windows 11 cosmetic changes, this one was also incomplete, being applied haphazardly. Microsoft never commented on such a seemingly fundamental cosmetic change, and a couple builds later, the screen became blue again. Not that anyone cared, from what I've seen. There wasn't any backlash, and it wasn't big news for some reason. The community was indifferent. It might have been a failed experiment. It can't be coincidental the first build with a black screen of death also started a revamped logon UI with a black root color. The bug check screen color was likely intended to complement the new root color of the shutdown screen. And it was pretty thought through because the acronym hadn't changed. Whether it's blue or black, it's still a BSOD. Number 10. You can easily install Windows 11 without bloatware. Installing Windows on your computer brings you Candy Crush, Facebook, and other unwanted WinUI software. Being polite here, the key problem is that Windows is essentially free, making you the product. So they're profiting off of you by installing sponsored garbage onto your computer. There are two ways to install Windows and not get your face candy crushed. The first one is to get an IoT Enterprise version of Windows 11. IoT stands for the Internet of Things, by the way. That version is intended for niche enterprise devices performing automated tasks using Windows instead of Linux for some reason. Since there is close to none user input on such devices, Microsoft have no reason to push sponsored apps, and therefore that version is super lean and tidy. Another benefit of using IoT Enterprise is ultra extended support. In fact, the IoT Enterprise Windows versions are supported the longest. You can also still activate IoT Enterprise once and for all using the hardware ID method. There are no artificial hardware requirements during the setup. The telemetry is turned off by default. It does not pre-allocate space for updates and temporary files and storage. The Samba client is much more compatible with the older versions of Windows. It does not randomly start encrypting your system drive using BitLocker. You can use Device Update Center, and much more. It's just so freaking good. That version of Windows is what Windows is supposed to be for consumers. But the consumers are the product, and the enterprises are their customers. So that all makes sense. Don't be a product, be a customer instead. The only drawback is that Microsoft Edge is not uninstallable. But there's a trick if you don't like edging. Thanks to the Euro Commission, you can uninstall Edge in the EU region on a non-IoT Enterprise version. Switching Windows versions can be done via changing the product key. The region can be changed through settings. You're not gonna lose any IoT perks I mentioned if you switch back after uninstalling the godforsaken browser. If you guys want, I can make a separate video showing how to configure the IoT Enterprise version to be perfect. You can find the download link in the description below. I'm just afraid they're gonna start pushing garbage in that version as well if it becomes mainstream. But I mean, we've got 10 years left, right? The second option is to set a specific region during the setup. You gotta select English with a world in the parentheses to get a relatively clean version of Windows. You'll not get the IoT experience with its infinite perks this way, but you'll get a clean install without any bloat. Until you set the region. That's when the floodgates open. Microsoft hates customers. Oh, and the Microsoft Store will not work until you set the region. So yeah, that's the drawback. The first option is so much better. Just go IoT, don't waste your time and nerves. Number 9. Making Windows more verbose. Anytime I install Windows, the first tweaks I apply are enabling the verbose status and enabling the blue screen display parameters. I have no idea why that's not enabled by default. I know the verbose status is enabled by default on Windows Server, but the blue screen has become less and less informative as time went, so we gotta fix that. What I mean by that is that since Windows 8, the blue screen no longer shows the bug check parameters, limiting you to the human readable bug check code and enumeration. Sometimes that's just not enough. I don't know why they removed that by default. It's almost as if the bug check is supposed to look nice instead of giving you as much information about the crash as possible in the moment. The fix is simple enough. You have to set 2 registry values shown on the screen. After you've set those puppies, Windows will actually tell you what's going on. The verbose shutdown screen is also pretty important because sometimes a service just doesn't want to exit and you're just stuck there looking at restarting or shutting down. What's that obsessive compulsion with hiding extra information a user might genuinely need to debug Windows? Something happened. God, I really hate that. Number 8. Emergency restart. Windows is full of mysteries and hidden functionality. One such feature is called an emergency restart. It's pretty useful if Windows randomly craps itself, and of course it's hidden. To find it, you must enter security options, aka press Ctrl-Alt-Delete. In there, at the bottom right, you'll find the Power Options button. If you just click on the power icon, you'll get all the generics like sleep, shutdown, restart. To get to the emergency restart menu, you have to hold down Ctrl and only then click on the power options. Click OK to immediately restart. Any unsaved data will be lost. Use this only as a last resort. If only you guys knew this existed, right? For a moment, this was a thing since Windows Vista. You can also hold Ctrl and press shutdown. There you go, emergency restart. Works just as well. Number 7. The F8 boot options. I cannot describe how abysmal entering the safe mode has become after Windows 7. You have to hold shift at the right moment for a certain period of time to then get into troubleshooting and recovery options which might not even work, to then click 20 buttons to even have a chance of booting into safe mode. Why did you make it so difficult? You have invented the F8 and F10 boot menus, they were just so good. Instead, you have to get rid of what's consistently working and super convenient only to replace it with a subjectively better looking menu behind 20 buttons. What's your problem, Microsoft? Why is everything becoming a sore? Anyway, this is how you enable the F8 boot menu. You'll need a command prompt with admin rights to bring it back. By the way, the shortcut to run apps as an admin is Ctrl-Shift-Enter. That's what I just used here. It doesn't work everywhere, by the way, but it works in some places, I guess. At very least, in the crappy Windows web search that connects to the internet and takes 20 years to find a local file. Anyway, inside the command prompt, we have to run the following command. bcd edit /set boot menu policy legacy. So the following command. The only legacy thing about that menu is the fact it was superseded by whatever the hell we have now. Run the command. Beautiful. The operation completed successfully. And now, the next restart, we'll finally be able to use the gorgeous F8 menu to boot into safe mode. Keeping the troubleshooting and recovery options intact, by the way, you can still use those just as well. Microsoft makes the most questionable decisions known to man. Alright, pressing F8. Check this out. Let's skip that. There you go. The legacy advanced boot options at your fingertips. And now you can enter the safe mode with the command prompt using the beautiful F8 boot menu. As you can see, the troubleshooting and recovery options are still present. Number 6. The old version of the task manager. It's an open secret Windows consists of layers piled on top of each other. Oftentimes we can use that to our advantage. But before you get your hopes up, I'm not talking about the task manager the grifter Dave Plummer took apart in. You can run it by just copying it directly from Windows 7 or whatever. It works just fine. If you do hate the new rendition of the task manager, you can revert back to the Windows 8 version of it without any tweaks at all. I mean, the new version is pretty good. It supports the dark mode. But if for some reason you hate it, you can just run the task manager with a D switch. Task mgr-d. Run that, and you get the Windows 8 version of the task manager. Enjoy. It's not documented at all, but you can reverse it and find the switch rather easily. Number 5. The Windows boot screen spinner is a font. Yes, you heard that right. The loading throbber during boot is actually a font, and that's a great thing. Finally, some subtle optimization that works in Windows. The font is located under C, Windows, Boot, Fonts, and is called Seago Boot Semilite. We have to install it first, but then it's possible to view it in a character map and see the spinner. Alright, open up the character map, look for Seago Boot Semilite right here. Take a look at the bottom, and you see the spinner. Very nice. Number 4. The out-of-box experience is a customizable web view. The out-of-box experience in Windows, otherwise known as an FRX or the first run experience, is a web application written in HTML, CSS, and JS. I made a video last year reviewing the source code for the application, and I found a hidden developer console that's not really hidden. And since it's a developer application, you can zoom in and out. Look at that. There is no limit to how much you can zoom, since it's a web view. The G502X is coming in clutch. Not sponsored, by the way. I just like that mouse a lot. Woo. What were we talking about? The developer console. You can press Ctrl-Shift-J to view the developer console. Let me just zoom in a little bit. You can just press Ctrl-Shift-J to view the developer console, and you're all set. You can select objects in the out-of-box experience to debug it. For example, let's select the right panel right here, and we get the markup as a result. You can also find the style sheet of an object. Oh, there's some invisible object right here. It looks like a grid. So let's try selecting the invisible object. Oh, it's an animation, and we get a CSS file in the location of it as well. Beautiful. Okay, so there we can also log things. Let's say hi. I think that developer console would be pretty useful for Windows modders, but otherwise there is really not much use to it. Another thing I found was the startup animation. I located it, and apparently it's a 4K video. You can press Shift F10, then move to Windows Apps, since it's a WinUI app or a UWP app, whatever you want to call it. Go to System Apps and find Microsoft.Cloud Experience Host. Can you please? Oh, no, it's called Microsoft Windows Cloud Experience Host. I'm sorry, guys. Doing this from memory is kind of difficult. And you've got a media folder right here. CD Media. And let's start an Explorer window for convenience sake. There you go. obintro.mp4. Check out the properties. Details. That video is 4500 by 3000. And it's a 30 FPS video as well. So that's just so great. Back when I installed Windows 11 on a Pentium 4, I had no clue why it was lagging so bad, but this answered my question. In case you guys don't know, that's such a lazy solution. Since it's a web view, it would make so much more sense to make use of a CSS animation. But you know, unpaid interns, I'm not blaming them. I'm surprised this thing works at all. Sometimes it breaks. Not all the time, but sometimes. Number 3. Windows Explorer purposefully slows down indexing in large folders. NTFS is trash. It's a garbage file system that loses to ext4 in every possible aspect, including reliability. My hard drive wears off faster thanks to NTFS and extra fragmentation that comes with it. Windows should support ext4, ZFS, BTRFS, and everything else out of the box. Period. It's time for NTFS to go, Microsoft. But of course it's not gonna happen. There are like 3 unpaid interns working on Windows 4 hours a day, and there is no incentive to improve. But all this aside, Windows Explorer is still hardwired to slow file indexing down even further. And I'm not even kidding. Have you ever wondered why Windows Explorer takes an obscene amount of time to load a folder with a large amount of files? Naturally, your first and the final guess would be that NTFS is garbage, and that's it. Because you can't do anything about that. And you're not wrong, NTFS really struggles with a large file count. But in reality, NTFS isn't that garbage. It's Windows Explorer adding salt to the wound by having the automatic discovery feature enabled by default. What exactly does that do? It changes the view of the folder you're currently in based on the contents of the folder. That means, let's say you have 10,000 video files in a folder. I do have such a folder on my hard drive. It's not called homework, by the way, don't worry. It's a folder with all my OBS recordings throughout the years. Anyway, the automatic folder discovery will determine it should optimize the Explorer view for video files, because the contents are entirely video files. Meaning it has to take every single video file, pull the thumbnail out of it, and then draw it 10,000 times. Just like that. Do you hear my hard drive? Oh, you probably don't. It's gonna take more time to load. That's not only horrible for your mental health, that's also horrible for the hard drive. It has to spin up for that seemingly harmless view change. So how do you turn this travesty off? That's an elaborate registry tweak, so follow me closely. I'm gonna do this on my host because I reinstalled Windows recently and the Windows web search is garbage. And I haven't gotten to apply the tweak yet. Making a video after 3 months of absence would be a good excuse to do that, right? I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, in the registry editor, we have to open the following registry key. Let's navigate towards it. HKey current user, software, classes, local settings, software, Microsoft Windows, shell. And in here, we have 2 keys called bags and bag MRU. And we need to delete them both. So quick explanation. The bags are the shell views. That's how they're called in Windows. So inside you have like settings for every folder it's detected before. And you can see sniffed folder type generic. So it couldn't determine the view exactly for that folder, so it decided to pick the generic view. And it's a tree-like structure right here. And on top you have the bag MRU key, which is basically a lookup table. It's like a small database. And it has links to the bags key. So we have to delete these guys before we do anything else, because these settings are basically saved in a database. And we have to clean it up. We have to drop the database. Let's go ahead and delete bags and bag MRU. Alright. It's not gonna break anything. Then we have to recreate the bags key. Go ahead, create a new key, call it bags. Then inside the bags, we have to create another key called all folders. That's like a wildcard. Inside the all folders key, you have to create another subkey called shell. Very intuitive, I know. That's why I'm saying it's elaborate. And inside the shell key, you can finally create a string value called folder type. And we'll call it not specified. Deleting the bags and the bag MRU keys essentially flushed the Explorer view database, and now we'll end up with a generic view for every folder. And setting folder type not specified here will disable the automatic folder discovery for Windows Explorer. And to apply these settings, we have to sign out and sign back into Windows. So I signed back into my computer. Let's go ahead and see what happened to Windows Explorer after the changes. The window size reset, but it's not a big deal. We can fix that again. Alright. Let's go ahead and enter the folder. Projects, OBS recordings. Check out the properties. Customize. And voila. The folder is now optimized for general items. And it loads in an instant. Beautiful. That's what we want. Oh yeah, before I forget, you can also speed up Explorer by pressing F11 twice. And that's not a joke either. So let's go ahead and try the performance. Look at this. We're browsing through directories. Real nice. Alright. So now we're gonna enter the full screen mode and then exit the full screen mode. Let's see how fast it is now. Oh wow. It's instantaneous. It's not edited. It's actually so much faster now. It's absolutely crazy, but that's a proven fact. If you enable the full screen mode on Windows Explorer, the directory loading becomes instantaneous and the Explorer generally starts lagging less. Absolutely wild. I don't know how they messed it up this bad. Number 2. The Windows security questions are plain text. This is one of my favorite go-to facts when convincing people Microsoft don't actually care about Windows. I've made an entire video about this. You can click on the card to watch it. Both the security questions and the answers can be accessed and modified if you have administrator rights. They are stored in a plaintext JSON encoded in little endian UTF-16, residing in the SAM registry key. I was thinking for quite a bit and decided to put this fact on top of the list because of how often it is overlooked and how useful it is. Shell commands are otherwise known as shell shortcuts, and Windows has a hard-coded set of these. Some of them allow you to reach into really tight crevices of Windows where light doesn't usually shine. There are two types of shell commands, the ones with friendly names attached to them, and the bare CLSID ones. The former is really easy to remember. For instance, let's just open the command prompt and use one of these right now. Explorer shell startup. Wow, it opens the user startup folder. How convenient. Let's try another one. Explorer shell libraries. That opens the library list. Simple and elegant. It's not rocket science. The latter is where the fun begins. You copy a magic string, put it as an argument for Windows Explorer, and have some crazy window no one has ever seen before open. It's kind of like a loot box if you don't know what the CLS ID represents before pasting it. So let's copy this puppy right here. Oh wow, this opened the Windows search. What about this one? Oh, this opened the run box. Let's try this one. Whoa, it opened the old notification area icon dialog. As you can see, it's very broken. And so on and so forth. This is pretty much God mode. Oh wait, God mode is actually a shell command. How handy. Look at that. There you go, that's the God mode. Remember that from Windows 7? Used to be so much more useful back then. Back when the Windows Settings app hasn't superseded the control panel. You can find shell command lists on the internet. There's a lot of them. Like, a lot. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to make more and in a faster pace. As I said already, I'm a Resolve beginner, and I don't have much time on hand, so I'm trying my best. Got many cool ideas. I'm finishing university soon, getting my first degree in software engineering. Pretty hyped. Looking forward to what life brings. Anyway, rate the video, subscribe if you enjoyed, and take care.